And yes, the importance of our ancestors is really important, to think of the things that they went through. We don't have to be scientists. There are plenty of us who are scientists,
Yeah.
who are surgeons, who are doctors, who are lawyers, all sorts. We can be the ordinary man in the street and make a difference. Our history is littered with people who made a
Greatness.
difference, absolutely,
Yeah.
right where they are, because they sat down and refused to move.
Yes. Literally sat down on a bus as
Literally
well.
sat down on a
Sat
bus
down on
and
a bus,
refused to
refused to
move.
move.
Refused
Um,
to move.
I'm so happy that you brought up the GCSE, the results, and what's going to happen this year in terms of, because my daughter is 15 and she's going to go on her predicted results and her tests and everything throughout the year. Um, I'm not worried. I'm not worried because I think she will get where she needs to get to because she has me and her dad that will help her. I'm worried for the children who don't have parents in their lives who will push them forward, who are not woke. I want to use that word, woke enough to understand that there will be lies and there will be um, more barriers um, put in their way. So that's who I'm worried about because
Yeah.
whatever she gets, whatever results she gets, I will be there looking for alternative methods or strategies to get her where she wants to get to because she wants to be a midwife.
And I absolutely get that. And
Yeah.
hence the importance of mentoring,
Yeah.
and for more and more of us to step up into mentoring and to look at mentoring as our way of supporting and our way of building, not as a financial solution for us as
Yeah.
individuals to build and to furnish our pockets, but actually our way of supporting and building up our community,
Yeah.
building up our young people so that we can leave a legacy in our community. It is about, having conversations with younger people. Sometimes younger people see people of my age, older people, as out of reach,
Yes.
or maybe thinking, well, they've made it and they don't understand what it's like to be young. I may not understand exactly what it's like to be young in this day and age. I was young once, but I hope that there's some wisdom that I can impart. I hope that I can hold their hand metaphorically and guide them and support them and be a nurturing voice to them. And I think we all have that responsibility. Yes, there are formal mechanisms, but we can do that informally with people in our communities.
Yeah.
Those of us who belong to a faith group, whether that be church or any other faith group,
Yeah.
we can do that in our faith groups, but we can do that with friends of our children. It's often just about, hi, how are
How are
you?
you?
How are you
Yes.
getting on? Just starting a conversation with our young people and encouraging them and making them feel that they are loved and that they are valued is so, so important.
Yes.
Building their self-esteem and that belief that says you can achieve and you can do whatever your heart's desire.
Yes. I agree. I think it's about valuing our children and valuing our Black men, our young boys. Because young girls, I still feel like I will still sit and talk to my daughter about your hair is beautiful, you are beautiful. We tend to, but we think our boys are a little bit tougher, but
Yeah,
they still need the same sort of care and love and constant telling that they are worthy.
absolutely.
So yeah. Another thing I read in your book is talking about why. And you said earlier on when you were talking about your history in the beginning that you found your purpose. You started to realize that, and I took up. You didn't say it, but I took from it that you started to do the equality and diversity work without even realizing that you were doing equality and diversity
Yeah,
work.
yeah, yes.
So finding the why. So let's talk about why. Why do we do what we do? And how does that contribute to being and doing anything, fulfilling your dream?
So I remember going on a leadership program back in the 90s. And one of the questions we were all asked to share our thoughts on, what's your next career move? In the next 5 or 10 years, where do you want to be? And everybody would say, I want to be chief pharmacist, I want to be director of nursing, I want to be head of finance. Everybody had something to say. And I kept thinking, oh, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? And it got to me. And they said, Jacinth, what would you like to be? What would you like to do? And so I said, oh, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. And everybody laughed because I really did not know what I want to be. Yeah. And then I started to think a little bit more about what is it that I wanted to do. And I was actually quite clear of the stuff I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
And then I started to think about what did I want to do? And I wanted to be, and so I then started to articulate and say, I wanted to be in a position where I could influence. I want to be at the table, whatever that table is, the big table that makes big P policy decisions. Yeah. So I didn't articulate it in a job, but I articulated it in the sorts of things that I wanted to do. And I knew why I wanted to do that, because fundamentally, I wanted to make a difference.
Right.
So that's fundamentally what I wanted to do. But I still couldn't articulate what I wanted to do. And if somebody said to me, well, why, what's your purpose? I probably couldn't have articulated it then. But my passion has always been around people and developing people. And what happened was I was delivering a program called Towards Strategies for Success. And this program was a week-long residential program for women. Yeah. And so at the beginning of the program, so I take them through this process of starting to identify, who am I? And unless we understand who we are, we cannot begin to understand where we're going. And it's interesting because when I started to take other people through that process, I was actually, without realizing, taking myself through that process
you want to do
yourself. Of kind of self-discovery.
Yeah.
And that self-discovery can be quite painful. But I remember, because by day 3 of the program, I remember thinking, oh my goodness, because a number of the women were weeping and were really distressed. And I remember thinking, I cannot leave them in this position. By the end of the 5th day, they have to come out at a high. And I remember day 4, looking at these women, and we were doing healing dance. And it's the most amazing thing, and the women were using chiffon scarves and just dancing, just free flow dancing in this space. And I remember the tears started to fall down my face, thinking, these women are free in this moment. And it was at that moment that I realized and recognized, actually, this is my purpose. Mm-hmm. That actually I am here to support, to enable, to free people, to help women to find their true purpose. Not only women, but predominantly women, to find their purpose and to find their space, to unlock whatever it is that is holding them back, and to work with them and to enable that transformation to take place. And it's not a change, and I use the word transformation so that if we imagine the analogy from, as you transition from larva into a butterfly, and it's a process, it's a transformation. And at the end of these 5 days, seeing these women stand straight, seeing their stature increase, seeing them talk in the first person. And so my why was, yes, as a businesswoman, I could have said my why was to make lots and lots of money. But actually, that was not my why. It's about, so if I make lots of money, for what purpose? Yeah. Why do I want to make that lots of money? So my purpose was revealed in terms of my passion, in terms of my beliefs, in terms of my values, all of the things that I hold dear. And at that moment, I thought, yes, I'm doing this, it's part of my business, but this I would do if I wasn't paid. And it's
Yeah,
so, what is it that is your passion? What is it that drives you? And the bigger why is, what will it give you? What will it enable you to do, to be, to know?
yeah,
And so, what it gives me is huge satisfaction that I can contribute and add value to one person's life,
yeah.
to transform a group of women that will enable them to go on. And some of the feedback that came back was actually one of the women came back and said, I've been able to make a difference within my family unit with my husband and my children. And so for me, my why was fulfilled.
Just hearing you talk. So my last question was like segueing it to being a woman and being a Black woman. But I also wanted to pick up on the different words: purpose, transformation, empowering, and I want to say again in this talk that in the 8 months that I have met you, I've met so many great people in the past 2 years, but you have been so inspirational in the way that I think, in the way I've looked at a few of your videos online. There are a few. There are a few on the NHS website. And every time you talk, you always talk with passion, but you always talk about improving women. You always talk about empowering, being inspirational. So I think you're right. You are on your journey and it's the right pathway. And if just by me looking at the videos has inspired me, I can only imagine how many other people you have touched without even knowing. Let me now segue into the being a Black woman in England. Um, Firstly, in everything that happens to me, and I never did it as a child because I grew up in Trinidad. I grew up in a place where my parents always told me how cute or beautiful I was. People look like me in my family, and even if they didn't look like me, they looked a bit different, but it didn't matter because we embraced differences. We didn't think that we were different, but we embraced it. And until we came over here, I didn't have to think about, oh, am I being treated this way because I'm a woman, or am I being treated this way because I'm Black? And that is my story for the past 18 years. I can't tell the difference if it's because I'm Black or if it's because I'm a woman. But also, I think it's because I'm both when I'm treated a certain way. So I don't know if you've had a lot of experience, and I'm sure you have, but could you speak to that and how that has an impact on a person?
I remember probably about 8 years ago, no, maybe 10 years ago, I took my two daughters to Jamaica. It was the first time that they went. And about day 3, they came up to me and they said, Mummy, everybody looks like us. When we go into the bank, everybody looks like us. And it made me stop and think. And they were absolutely right. Everybody did look like us, but I hadn't appreciated the impact that it had had on my girls who were, in their early teens, that actually they recognized that not everybody did look like them.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's it. There's suddenly sometimes an awakening when we realize we're not like anybody. So my awakening was in my primary school, as I talked about, putting the scarf over my head